So, good morning. I'm Tyler Boies. I am the CEO of Helical Solutions, and I'm here to tell you about my company and our product today. So, the problem is invasive endangered species in waterways are very difficult to detect. How this is currently done, for the most part, is usually they have teams actually go out to waterways and either do electroshocking the water so all the fish float to the surface, or there are some other methods. Obviously, methods like that pose a huge problem to the wildlife you're trying to monitor. So, for example, invasive species, it might not matter as much, but if you're trying to monitor endangered species, that is a huge problem. It's also very dangerous. Many people are killed every year from this. And monitoring the environment from DNA that floats off into the water is very difficult to do. It's very slow and costly, and there are several critical delays in that process that delay interventions that can be taken and are quite costly, both in personnel and with monetary funds. So all living things give off DNA into the environment. This is in the form of skin cells, feces in fish per se, and any other bodily fluids. And this is just constantly going out into the water. For us, for me in this room here, it's going out into the air. But we're just constantly giving off thousands of cells a minute, millions, even billions of cells in a full 24-hour period. So if we can detect this DNA, this environmental DNA, and actually run tests on it in the field, we can substantially eliminate a lot of the problems with the current ways people monitor waterways for invasive and endangered species. So how this works, we have an auto sampling device that actually pulls water up into the device, does all the sampling there in the device itself. It extracts it. It does all the laboratory work. Currently, these tests are actually transported back to the laboratory. This can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks with a technology called qPCR, and it's very expensive. It's $60 to $100 per test. So if you're doing even just 10 tests at a site, it can be $1,000 or more, which 10 tests at one site is still a very small number, considering that's just looking for one thing. So our auto sampling device is, you're able to leave it there in the field. It sucks up water into the device, performs all the functions that they would need to do in the field, and provides results that can either be saved to an SD card or transmitted wirelessly. So the user can actually see what's going on in that waterway without even needing to actually be there. Also, I'm not sure if you, sorry, I had to move the view of you guys over. The other part of this is it's linearly scalable. So we look for one thing at a time with our tests. However, if you wanted to scale up, currently the device works running one target as we are on version 1.3 of the device. We will look at it in a moment. It looks at one target. However, that one target is quite limited. Let's say we wanted to look at 4 targets. It's already built for 4 targets, so we can easily scale up to that just by hooking up a couple wires. And it's completely scalable up to several hundred tests every single testing cycle we do. And it's quite versatile as well. So the immediate application for us is invasive endangered species. That's where my background in research is. However, we can also look for many other things. One of the big things is looking for pathogens in sewer systems. So you can just take this line, drop it in a sewer system, and see what viruses are moving throughout a community because these pathogens are going into the sewer. Um, Air systems are another one, and also similar to sewer systems. A lot of times it's similar departments, but a little bit different people running it is looking in water systems as well. So part of our testing method that is unique is we're not looking at any byproducts from a problematic species or a species that we need to protect. We're looking at their actual genes itself. And by doing that, we can actually customize this to just about any setting we need. So this is me on the left. I am the CEO. I am a senior bioengineering student here at WSU this year. And I have three other people involved with my company as well. They are not on my team, but they are co-founders in my company. Professor Michael Phelps, he does everything around invasive and endangered species. This is his area of expertise in application. And he's been a tremendous help with actually getting some of the molecular side to work. Zachary Musgrove, he's a mechanical engineer. He currently works at Blue Origin, doing life support air control systems. And as we'll look at in a moment, there is a unique reason why that is quite needed for my air filtration device. And Todd Boies, he's my father. He's been an entrepreneur for years and years and years now, and has been absolutely pivotal to the process. So the goal, like I said, is to deliver a device and tests as well. We're going to look at in a moment to place out in the field and leave it. We aim to revolutionize conservation by making DNA and RNA analysis on site fast and easy to use. Currently, we have a few hangups with the process and actually getting our product to market. We need to raise about $25,000. So we're going to look at financials a little bit more in a few minutes, but this $25,000 that we need to raise, most of it isn't going to wages at this time. I have some money saved up. I'm going to be basically blowing through a fair bit more of my own money than I would like. But I need to, my living expenses for the most part, I'm going to be pulling from my savings, but I need $25,000 for working capital for a couple equipment purchases to really help get the company up and going. So, for the market, Fish and Wildlife Service, and there's a few others as well. I've done over 25 official customer discovery interviews and more than 25 unofficial customer discovery interviews. Fish and Wildlife Service and some other fish monitoring services, Kramer Fish Sciences has been a very close partner as well. We've been talking and working with, trying to meet these customers' needs. Why we're going into the conservation sector first is because they both have a tremendous need for it. They're actively out there looking for solutions to this problem. They know that there's a problem for this. They're spending titanic amounts of money paying people to go out to waterways to take these samples, and in paying laboratories to actually run these samples. They are actively looking for it. They actively have financial amounts allocated for projects like this, so they are easy to adopt, and they're very with the science. A lot of these people doing this are biologists, and they don't necessarily know how all the molecular biology works, but they do know that this is a viable way to do it, and they're the most looking for a solution like this. However, like I said, it can be adaptable to just about any setting. There's one or two other steps that need to be taken, which we've already done. We know how to do this. It's very easy, but adapting it to forest health, public health, agriculture. Agriculture runoff is a really big one. I'm sure everybody's heard of E. coli getting on crops. This is a very big problem.
That's 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
And air systems as well. So the individual who's working on the mechanical side for the air filtration, it actually pulls air into the device instead of water and does all the sampling just the same. We hope to put this in some future point in aircraft and potentially aircraft systems looking for pathogens as well. Oh, for our deliverables, we've already done extensive customer discovery, and this is still ongoing. As of this week, it was still ongoing. We have a Washington State business license. We have established molecular methods. We have a working prototype, and we have a provisional patent, and we are filing our final patent here in about 2.5 months. We have one competitor that we know of. I'm pretty sure this is accurate too, that we only do have one. We are quite plugged into who is trying to do this stuff. I have actually called this company and said I was a customer looking for a device, and they at best can deliver a device in 18 to 24 months, and they hope for it to be $125,000, which is very costly, puts it out of the range of a lot of the customers like the Fish and Wildlife Services, besides maybe 1 or 2 devices. And it's limited to 3 reactions at a time. It's not expandable to test for multiple things outside of the 3. Compared to our $9,622 device, that's linearly expandable, and ours runs faster. I see it being a competitor, but I see our device being more than competitive with it.
Got 3
Here's
minutes.
Thank you. Our auto sampler on the right, this is version 1.1. We are now on version 1.3, so we are a little bit ahead of this device now. The new one has walls and other things built around it, but we're still keeping it clear for the early models just so you can see what's going on. Hopefully I'll be presenting that in the final presentation. Like I said, it's linearly expandable. That's a really big piece compared to the other device. Our beachhead market conservation, like I said, we aim to deliver the first 20 units by the end of the year. These are to these customers that really I talk to all the time. They're checking in, or they want to see what's going on with the device. These are who I plan to sell to first. And then as this progresses, we're going to expand beyond these first couple customers we're discussing and go out to more of the conservation world and just into a little bit of the public health areas, specifically like sewer systems, because the device is already completely set up for that. And then 3 years plus, we're going to be going kind of everywhere with this: public health, agriculture, and air systems as well. That part is a little bit bigger to dive into. Our device does not need FDA approval for the first couple purposes, but it will potentially for some later purposes, specifically with agriculture. So we have a lot of lawyer work to go into with that at some later point. For production, we're actually planning to bootstrap the device. We interviewed with several places to try to get prices to see how much it would be for them to manufacture for us. But it turned out that it doesn't really make a lot of sense. We can buy all the parts prefabricated and incorporate them, just do final assembly ourselves, and we can do all a very similar process for all the molecular tests. For the first year, it's very minimal profit. All this is going back into the business. Second year, this is expanding. Third, fourth, and fifth year is where we really get into decent profit. And these are based on selling the device for $9,622 a unit, $8 per test. We sell these tests are going to be sold a lot more, as you see in this graph here. I don't have a lot of time to spend on it, but tests are going to be a large portion of our income. We offer a device that is scalable, affordable, and versatile. It makes us uniquely qualified to satisfy these challenges. we respectfully request the merit prizes as well. These are, I know you know what the merit prizes are. Thank you for your time.
I guess I'll start again. Thank you. So great presentation. Wonderful idea concept. I really like this product idea. I have a thousand questions, but I'll just give you a few big ones. Um, so you're designing something that is clearly going to disrupt the existing player in the marketplace, and you're selling this at 1/10 the cost. I'd like to see the actual cost breakdown and what your gross margins are, but I'm wondering why you're pricing it so low. Number one, and then secondly, as far as the patent process, you filed a provisional patent, which means you haven't prosecuted for full patent protection, which means you haven't uncovered any prior art or any competing patents yet. So I would say that protecting this IP, if it indeed does everything that you say it can do, and it's so disruptive, is number one priority. So, what are your plans for further protecting your product from a patentability standpoint? I understand there are probably multiple aspects of this and multiple claims that you could attempt to patent.
Correct. So there's a few different questions there. So
Pricing
the question,
and then patents, yeah.
Correct. So we can start with patents. You finished with that. So for patents, we are finally filing the final patent. We did a patent search. There was nothing closely related to it. We did the provisional patent, and the final patent we'll be filing with Lee and Hayes in about 2.5 months is when they wanted to do that. Right now, we're just kind of finishing out the last few tweaks on how we want the device to look, and we have a little bit left with the air system as well. The other guy is completely putting all of his time into that right now. As far as the first question for pricing, so currently there's nothing that really exists like this. That company, even with that device, I know I was talking pretty quick there, but they haven't actually delivered this device yet. They hope to deliver it in 18 to 24 months. So currently, the only way to actually do DNA testing is to remove it to a lab. So people have tried to make some stuff that was kind of adaptable to the field, but there were so many problems with that, even just doing it by hand, that it was never widely used because they were just not workable. There was contamination problems in the field was the issue, was actually getting a person to do it. So currently all these tests are being taken back to the lab. So they hope to deliver it for that. I don't know if you guys have access to my business plan or not.
Yes.
So to manufacture the devices is just under $400. Why we're able to do it so inexpensively, basically it has a lot to do with the fundamental technology involved. CRISPR is, what's your background? Can I ask that real quick?
I understand what CRISPR is. We don't need to get into the details of the science. Right. I just wanted to know why you're not charging more if this is so disruptive.
Because I know that we're going to make more money off tests in the end than we will make off devices. So we're going to charge $622 per device. But if we sell 2 devices versus 10 devices, they will have a tendency to use more devices, more tests in those 10 devices.
And our profit, razor blade. Okay, that's good enough. Thank you for that. I'll pass it to other judges for their questions.
Tyler, I had one. I think you presented at the same competition last year. Is that correct?
I presented at the JMA. So
okay, yeah, I think I was a judge for that as well. Could you kind of enlighten the group on where you were at then to kind of where you're at now and what's progressed between last spring and today?
Absolutely. So at that point, my customer discovery was more limited. I'd only conducted about half that customer discovery interviews at that point, maybe 2/3. I'd have to check my numbers in my logs, but between half and 2/3 the customer discovery. The device wasn't nearly as close to completion at that point. There were several problems. Some of the big problems were actually more on the molecular side. Some of the base technology of like CRISPR had been developed, but actually making things field deployable had yet to been done. The molecular tests are pretty much done for the first several species of endangered and invasive trout and salmon species. So that's already established, and we have a device that's working at this point. That's the big thing that has progressed.
Perfect. Thank you.
This sounds like it needs a ton of data in terms of RNA, DNA data. Where are you sourcing that from, and how are you then connecting it to this testing device?
Outstanding question. So the data isn't actually in the device. The data is in making the molecular tests. So how that works, we put in a sequence into a company that sends us what's called a guide RNA or a guide sequence, and that tells the CRISPR what to look for, and then the device actually gives us binary results. 0, 1. Was it positive or was it negative? So the actual data is actually going into the enzyme, not the device itself. And did that answer your question?
It's a good start. Yeah, it's a good start. But let's not go too deep into it and make sure others have some questions. I just wanted to know that you have data sources and how to get to them.
Right. Oh, for those different sequences as well, most of them are published.
Okay. Thank you.
Does the machine itself output the results directly through a screen, or is there a digital output? Is it connected to the internet somehow? How do I get the results, in what format?
So there is a screen on it. You can see what is going on with it. However, for the most part, that's not as viable of a way to actually look at the data, because basically we add tests in and we add more filters in, and then you just leave the device to sit there, and it does this for weeks on end. So the way we typically do data storage, either we have an SD card, so it saves directly to an SD card, and another part that we're working on right now is actually hooking it up to online sources. That's a part that's actively undergoing right now.
And there's a battery in this thing, I presume, to operate it?
There is a battery. It's not a simple question to answer, because there's a few different ways we're implementing it. So one device we're making, I was talking to the Spokane water supply earlier this week, actually, and they want me to redesign the whole bottom floor and add a bunch more batteries in. They want it to be able to run for 2 to 3 months uninterrupted with batteries alone. But then again, I have smaller devices that don't have as much battery, but have a solar panel. So if they want to hike into a very remote lake and have it sampling that way, they can do that without having all this extra weight of all these batteries. So it really, we're going to have several models of the device. It really depends on your specific one you're looking for.
I think that leads into my question, and it's centered around the hardware. You spoke a little bit about maintenance services as part of your subscription. Kicking this off right off the bat when it goes out the door, can you talk a little bit about warranty? And maybe on top of that question, you've mentioned government customers. So have you thought about how you'll ensure you're sourcing authentic and not counterfeit electrical components?
As far as them can you clarify, are you asking for ensuring authentic components, like ensuring that they don't replace my components with other components? Is that your question?
Talk a little bit more about your sourcing of components, and also how you plan to handle products that are faulty or that need return from the customer.
Right, absolutely. So as far as sourcing components, we have several sources. Basically, we can put orders in and have as many as we want for a lot of these components. As far as the enzyme side goes, or as far as the mechanical side goes, put in your quantity and order. It's pretty much that simple. There are a variety of sources that we order from. For instance, there are many pumps in the devices. We order those from a different place than we order most of our sensors. But
Tyler, sorry to interrupt, but we're actually at time now. So
Okay.
thank you so much for answering all those questions and for your presentation.